Even the country's oldest Latino civil rights group came out against it, yet AOC keeps defending it, saying gender is fluid, language is fluid. Yes, and Latino voters are fluid. Redress the past, or reach out to the gettable white voter who says, you know what, I'd like a shot at getting in the pot business. But to do that, our entire audience.
You ever notice how Democrats keep coming up with new ways to hurt themselves? It's like they've mastered the art of pushing away their own voters. And Bill Maher, who, let's be honest, built his career as a smug liberal, absolutely went after them on his show. And here's the thing, he's not wrong. Let's start with the whole Latinx fiasco. Remember when the woke crowd tried forcing everyone to use Latinx instead of Latino? They shoved it into speeches, campaigns, classrooms, basically everywhere. And what happened? The Latino community rolled their eyes. Poll after poll showed the vast majority hated it, didn't use it, and didn't want it. Even the oldest Latino civil rights group in the country rejected it outright. Yet AOC and her crew keep defending it like it's their final stand. And AOC's excuse? Gender is fluid. Language is fluid. Sure. But here's what else is fluid: Latino voters. They're fluid enough to walk away from Democrats and vote Republican if they feel ignored. And that's exactly what's happening. Bill Maher pointed to a perfect example. A heavily Latino congressional district along the Mexican border had been solid blue for decades. Nobody thought it would ever flip. But then, bam, it went Republican. Why? Because Democrats running there stopped acting like representatives for their communities and instead acted like spokespeople for migrants, woke causes, and whatever Twitter trend was hot at the moment.
An 85% Latino congressional district on the border with Mexico, which had always voted heavily Democratic, flipped to the red team. And the campaign manager for the losing Democrat said, "We gave up a reliably Democratic congressional seat for no reason at all. We deserve to know why." Well, aside from your terrible attitude, I'm going to tell you why. Because these voters stopped seeing your candidate as their lawyer.
That's the point Maher nailed. Voters want leaders who fight for them. They want politicians who act like their lawyer, not someone chasing hashtags. They don't care about a representative who obsesses over pronouns while ignoring schools, safety, and real-life problems. And honestly, how clueless do you have to be to keep pushing a word like Latinx when the very people it's meant for overwhelmingly reject it? It's like me insisting we stop calling it pizza and start calling it flatbread circular gluten units. And when people laugh at me, I double down with, well, language is fluid. That's not inclusivity, that's arrogance dressed up as progress. And voters can see straight through it.
Your message to you was, I'm an American now. I'm here. Be my lawyer, not the lawyer for the migrants showing up in my backyard. Every month I see a new poll reporting how much Latinos despise the woke term Latinx. It's about as popular with them as a reboot of Speedy Gonzales.
That's why Trump, yes Trump, the guy Democrats swore could never win minority support, actually gained ground in Latino communities. Not because he became their champion, but because Democrats abandoned the role. If you don't act like people's lawyer, they'll fire you and hire someone else. Simple as that.
Country's oldest Latino civil rights group came out against it, yet AOC keeps defending it, saying gender is fluid, language is fluid. Yes, and Latino voters are fluid.
And it's not just Latinos. Asian Americans are walking away too, especially over education. In deep blue cities, Democrats claimed they were fighting for equity by eliminating advanced academic programs where Asian kids were excelling. Think about that. Instead of helping struggling students rise up, they dragged everyone down to the lowest level. If you're a parent whose child is excelling in math or science, and then a politician tells you, sorry, we're cutting that program because not every student is thriving, how are you supposed to react? You'll look for someone who protects your kid. You'll look for a leader who acts like your lawyer.
And more of them now than ever are identifying as Republican. So are Asian Americans, whose support for Democrats is down 16 points since the last election. A lot of that is because, in the name of achieving equity in schools, Democrats in deep blue cities have made it a mission to eliminate the advanced programs at which Asian kids excel. Asian parents said, okay, I wish all kids well, not a racist, but I need someone who acts like my lawyer.
And this doesn't just hurt Asian kids. It hurts all kids. Excellence inspires excellence. Take away the top achievers, and you kill motivation across the board. Why should an average student push harder if there's no higher standard to reach? Why should they bother when the reward system is flattened in the name of equity? That's not fairness, that's a race to the bottom. And don't forget the pandemic school shutdowns. Parents begged to get their kids back in classrooms, but Democrats sided with teachers' unions instead of families. And then they're shocked when parents start voting Republican. What did they expect? If your kid comes home knowing less than when they left, are you really going to keep voting for the people who caused it?
You're a parent and wanted schools to reopen a lot sooner than they did after COVID shutdowns, or think maybe your kid is getting a bad education partly because it's nearly impossible to fire a lousy teacher? Yeah, you're going to say, congratulations, teachers, you got yourself a good lawyer. The Democratic Party's always got your back, 100%. But I've noticed my kid is kind of an idiot. So I may be looking for new representatives.
This is the pattern. Democrats keep pandering to tiny niche groups while ignoring the majority. Take student loan forgiveness. On the surface, it sounds nice. Wipe out debt, let young people chase their dreams. But look closer, and it's a slap in the face to working-class voters who never went to college. Imagine you're a mechanic, waitress, or delivery driver. You avoided college debt, maybe skipped school altogether to work. And now Biden says your tax dollars are paying off someone else's $100,000 gender studies degree. How is that fair? You worked, you sacrificed, and now you're covering someone else's tab. Someone who might even make more money than you. That's not justice. That's vote buying. And people are catching on.
And Biden wants to cancel hundreds of billions of dollars in student debt. Okay, but the poorer 2/3 of American kids who don't get a college degree are going to say, why should the people who didn't go to college and make less money subsidize the people who did go and make more? You want me to chip in so some liberal arts college can build a bigger rock wall? You're not my lawyer.
The same goes for these universal basic income trials. Some cities are handing out free cash to small groups, sometimes limited to LGBTQ+ residents. Nothing against helping people in need, but if you single out one identity group for special treatment, you're basically telling everyone else, you don't matter. Democrats have turned pandering to the LGBTQ+ community into their political love language. Every speech, every stunt, every policy seems aimed at that one block. And in doing so, they've made others, straight men and women, racial minorities, struggling families, feel invisible. And invisible voters don't stay loyal. They walk.
Universal basic income probably sounds pretty good to a lot of people struggling without a college degree. And a number of cities have been running pilot programs in guaranteed income. But the West Hollywood program had to be suspended because it was unconstitutional. They set up a program where 25 residents were to get $1,000 for 18 months, but only if you identified as LGBT, the rest of that. Why? Because they need money more than any other people? Because no one in West Hollywood will hire a gay person?
Here's the irony. Democrats even risk losing on marijuana legalization, an issue they should have owned years ago. Bill Maher, basically the Pope of pot, even said Trump could end up being the one to push nationwide legalization. Imagine that. The party mocked as uptight could deliver what progressives have been promising forever. If Republicans pull it off, it'll be hilarious. Picture Maher lighting up a joint and admitting, okay, the GOP got it done. That would be an identity crisis for him.
When he ran in 2020, Bernie Sanders said he would legalize marijuana on his first day as president, but that the business of selling pot would be awarded first to those who suffered most from the drug war. And you know what? I can't argue with that instinct. The drug war has been a horrendous instrument of prejudice and punishment for racial minorities, so it seems fair that they jumped the line for weed franchises the way Indians did for casinos. But it's also what's holding up Republican support for legalizing weed nationally, which would be good for everybody. And these are the hard, practical choices the Democrats have to.
But that's the big picture. Democrats talk a big game. They love slogans, hashtags, and moral lectures. But when it comes to delivering, they stumble. Meanwhile, Republicans, whether you like them or not, are stepping into those gaps. They're presenting themselves as the lawyers for everyday Americans, and voters are responding to the end of the day, people don't want pandering. They don't want buzzwords. They don't want endless lectures about pronouns or equity. They want leaders who fight for them, protect their kids' education, make neighborhoods safer, and stop wasting their hard-earned money. That's the job. Democrats have forgotten it. They've swapped substance for style. And style doesn't win elections when real lives are on the line.
Address the past or reach out to the gettable white voter who says, you know what, I'd like a shot at getting in the pot business. But to do that, our entire audience.
So yeah, Bill Maher isn't suddenly a conservative hero. But he's right about this. Democrats are digging their own grave with these woke policies. From Latinx to education to debt forgiveness to identity pandering, they're showing voters exactly where their priorities are. And it's not with the people keeping this country running. If they don't change course, they'll keep losing. Latino voters, Asian voters, working class voters, they're all drifting away. And when election day arrives, slogans won't save them. Action will. Right now, Republicans are the ones delivering. So let me ask you, can Democrats turn it around, or are they stuck too deep in the woke swamp? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Hit that like button if you're sick of the pandering. And don't forget to subscribe for more, because trust me, we're just getting started.